You ever go to a sporting event and you just like watch a guy walk into the can? You know that they're taking a shit because of the way that their shoes are oriented. You know what I'm saying? You could see like the pants by the ankle and they got the beer in there with them.
Come on, let's go!
You think I'm going to come on here and put one of the Aussies in the elite tier?
I'd vote for Rob with 25,000.
I wouldn't vouch for you.
I can basically just cheat and get the same bets that they're getting. And
it's weird because you can also pay your bills at the same place where you bet.
This guy talks a lot of trash. He's talked a lot of trash about me, Rob, a lot of people in the community, but he's refusing to show his face.
Touting yourself as a pretty good NFL gambler. I thought you were an idiot.
Say testing, I'm a cuck. 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Aussies, going head-to-head with the Aussies. That's what I drew for, and I said, get him, Kirk.
And they call me a mean-spirited name. I don't hang out with them.
The Toronto Maple Leafs at 14-1 are staring me dead in the face.
I'm already getting, a lot of early. This could be the best Circles Off episode that's ever been done.
Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 162, right here, part of the Hammer Betting Network, and presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I'm Rob Pizzola, joined by Johnny from betstamp after holiday week last week, 4th of July in the U.S. and Canada Day here in Canada. How are things?
Not too bad. We put out an absolute banger last week. Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody, for the support. Thanks for sticking with us. 3 hours.
Yeah,
we did on an episode. It's our longest one to date.
Well, kind of. The Super Bowl props extravaganza, the first one we did.
The first one we did.
Yeah.
That was, man.
Yeah, that was a day.
That was a day.
In the old basement.
Yeah.
That was a day.
That was a day.
That was tough. It got really hot in that room, too.
Yeah.
I've since done longer. I've been...
Yeah, you
I'm making them longer and longer every year. I got to not do that. Because then you're just creating a bad expectation. Like, eventually I'm going to be doing 24 hours of Super Bowl props.
Yeah, but that's sick.
Yeah. Except for when you have to take a leak mid-show. You got to think of like bumpers to put up on the screen and graphics and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess it could be all right. What'd you do for you were away for a while? What'd you do last week?
Just buzzing, working, enjoying the summer. Honestly,
crushing some beers or what?
Here and there.
You know what? I'm back on the beer train, and I've had some good beers lately.
In last week's episode,
yep,
Matt Trenhale said a top beer is an airport with the boys beer.
See, like he that, you know what? Maybe that comment he made on the episode actually got me back into beer again. So like I'm type 1 diabetic, so I try to drink with less sugar. And it's not that, like, beer has carbs that convert to sugar, so I drink a lot of seltzers, High Noons, White Claws, stuff like that. But maybe it was just that
bleep those out. Those aren't sponsors of the show, Zach.
But maybe that one comment he made about the airport beer, can I actually say something that's actually, I didn't want to say it to him because we already had him on for like 3 hours when he brought that up. I think airport beer is one of the most overrated beers.
You know what's actually not overrated?
I do know what's not overrated. In fact, one would argue they're maybe even underrated in market right now. Pinnacle Sportsbook. Check them out if you're in Canada. Find out what the pros have known for the last 25 years. Pinnacle's where the best bettors play. In all seriousness, I've been betting at Pinnacle for a very long time. I advocate for the sportsbook because they treat bettors fairly. They give you a bet and they don't limit you. The product suite is getting better and better with each passing month. So make sure you check them out. You must be 19 plus, not available in the U.S. And as always, please play responsibly. But yeah, the airport beer, overrated.
So producer Zach, obviously at the heels of that comment, you had a little segment you wanted to run. Why don't you explain it?
Yeah, I was thinking that it might be fun, especially in the spirit of coming off of Canada Day, 4th of July. We're in the summer. It's not too much going on. Do like a best beers draft, as well as most or worst beers draft. And not type of beer as in like brand or whatever, but occasion, location.
Such as an airport
whatever.
Beer.
Such as an airport beer.
So Zach asked us to prep some. He said to prep 3 and 3. I went a little wild. I could think of just bringing me back memories. I've got, I think, 8 and 8.
No, I didn't.
You just prepped the 3 and 3?
I have a 4 and 4.
I have some honorable mentions.
But I'm going to decide last minute because you have to like take yourself back and put yourself like in that position of enjoying that beer or not enjoying that beer. And it's tough to narrow it down, but I did get it. I did get it down there.
If you hate beer and you're just joined for sports betting, skip ahead to the description part. You don't have to listen to this, but we did. Who's got first pick?
Yeah, how are we doing the picks?
Oh, we didn't plan that part.
didn't
of it.
really
All right,
plan that
Zach,
far
you're up. Give us your best.
What happens if we have overlap?
Then you
You
lose
just
your
got to
pick.
pivot.
Yeah, you
so
can
I should
go
have
to
I
another
should have
one.
put more than 4 on my list.
Zach, go ahead. Your best beer.
Oh God. Okay, 1A, 1-1. The best beer to have is the golf course beer with your buddies. I'm not talking about you go out in a random group, you get paired with some random people, or it's just like you and one guy that you're playing with and you're going for like to play. I'm talking about it's Saturday, the weather's nice, you got your foursome, or maybe you've even got 2 back-to-back foursomes, 2 groups of your friends. You get out on the course, you bring your own beers, you wait till you get to the second tee away from the clubhouse, and you open the first beer. Tell me that's
That's
not
a good. That is
the
a great
best
beer. Yeah,
beer.
to be honest, I had that on my list.
Yeah.
Golf course beer?
No word of a lie. Golf course beer was on my list. That's undoubtedly one of the
Yeah,
top beers.
I think a lot of people will resonate with the golf course beer. I don't like to drink on the golf course until after 6 holes. So I basically figure out how the day is going. And because of my home course, the halfway house is actually not at the halfway house. It's at the 6th hole. So I kind of determine whether or not I'm going to drink based off of how I played in the early going. But there's some days where I won't drink. So there's oftentimes I don't enjoy a golf course beer. But it is, listen, like you're playing golf casually with buddies.
Yeah.
Cold one on a hot day.
Yeah.
Can't
Also,
go.
I got mine second pick. So this one is at the cottage on the balcony. First beer of the day. Usually comes around 11 a.m. and it's usually a Corona with lime. But what a beer that is, man! That first beer of the day at the cottage. That's got to be the top beer.
It's got to be the top beer. An 11 a.m. cottage beer.
Yes.
I have it on my list. I'm not gonna lie.
On
Johnny.
a Saturday.
I had a similar one, a little
for the
different,
day.
but yeah.
Starts the day that's the best beer.
Get in trouble on those days. Start at 11 a.m.
You got to go easy, pace yourself. But I'd say that's for me a top beer at least.
Okay. These are maybe a little bit of recency bias for me here, but I'll start with my number 1 being fishing beer. I would actually suffice to say, sorry fishermen out there, I would suffice to say that fishing is not tolerable unless you're actually drinking beer at the same time. There's just way too much downtime. You're out in the open water. Usually, I'm fishing in summer. It's hot. You need something to keep you hydrated. You're out with buddies. It's the same thing that you guys are talking about. Like it's like a golf course beer, but it's a change of venue. You're just out on the open water. You know, fishing beer for me. It's so good, man. Just goes down so clean.
Never been fishing.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing a whole lot. But
I haven't either. So no. Okay.
All right, Zach,
Do we want to go snake or just keep going?
snake beer.
go ahead.
Okay, snake.
Snake beer, worst of all time.
Okay, second for me is very simple. It's very relatable to yours, but the campfire beer for me
Campfire beer.
is huge. Can't go wrong. Again, a lot of this is made with like the group of people that you're with or whatever. But I like to indulge in like some salty when I'm by the campfire as well. Some pretzels, some chips. You know, beer goes really well with that at night. Cold one before you go to bed. Campfire beer for me, very nice.
All right, I'll go with the 4th pick. It's barbecuing steaks beer.
Standing at the barbecue.
Standing at the
Yeah.
barbecue. And it really, actually, if I were to go further, it's actually barbecuing Spadooch Grill.
Yeah. For
That's-
those that don't know, it's lamb skewers.
Lamb skewers on there. You can, one hand have a little bit of, eat a little bit, and then you have the beer in the hand. That's the second, that's my second pick. Zach.
Mine, I had one that was like similar to you guys. I'm not going to, I'll just say it because I don't think I can use it in my list now because it's too similar. You had like the campfire and the cottage beer. I was going to say like on the dock beer. But I think
It's a little different.
Yeah, we're gonna allow
beer,
that?
I would allow that.
Okay,
It's a
yeah,
different
so-
venue.
So that's my next one, though, if you're allowing it.
On the
dock
docks
beer by the water.
Yeah, water
Oh, it's
contributes,
nice.
man.
The water's there. Everything's peaceful. Maybe there's some boats puttering by. Cracked a beer. Oh, that's
All
what
right,
I'm
you got another pick.
You ever done a pedal boat beer or what?
I'm not, but that sounds kind of miserable because you're just absolutely humming a workout.
Is a kayak beer legal?
Dewey.
Is that legal?
Okay, last one. I'm interested to see the response for this one. Could potentially be controversial. Last one for my draft. It's the shower beer.
What the fuck, man? Shower beer. Of course, anyone who puts shower beer wins the competition.
I'll be honest.
Beer is mine.
I had that on my list as well, but I had it as hockey change room men's league championship shower beer. Dude, if anybody here has ever won a men's league championship and had a shower and had the beers in the room, that is an all-timer.
Yeah. Do you do the pre-drink shower beer, or you do like the long day of work, go home shower beer? Because those are very different things.
I mean, you're gonna expose me here, both sometimes, but I think the one that's like the you're about to go out. It's maybe you've been out during the day, or like you're outside. You're not like out. Maybe you went out to go for a walk, or you went out and had to do some shopping or something. Now you're going out to the bar at night. You're getting in the shower, cracked a beer after you just had dinner. You're finalizing everything to get ready. Go to the shower, cracked a beer, about to go out, hit the town. You feel good after. You feel ready to go, energized, and then the beer. There's something about it.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
I get
Doing
it,
that
man.
university too is just that's where it all started. And
I got with the next one. The older people, they're not going to get this one. It's more for the younger generation. Hear me out. If you know, you know. All right. Spike ball beer.
I played spike ball before. I never had a beer while you're playing.
That's
I
the
kinda
only way.
disagree.
That's the
Using
only
one
way.
hand, right?
That's the only way you play.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Spike ball beer. Hold the beer in the hand. Play a game of spike ball. Relax. And a spike ball beer is an all-time experience.
Yeah, but spike ball, like you're not playing competitive spike ball.
No, relax. Beach spike
Oh, you
ball.
want beach spike ball. Like
Beach
you're not doing
spike ball.
somersaults to get to the next ball
Right.
or anything. Like
If you do, you got to hold the beer up.
Got to put the thumb over the top of the beer.
Exactly. So yeah, I'll go with my third pick, spike ball beer.
I was a little off the board. I didn't expect a spike ball beer.
I got a couple honorable mentions
All right.
later.
Okay, let me paint a picture for you with this next one. All right. You're in Vegas. It's sweltering heat. You're going out at night. Grab yourself a beer in the casino. You're waiting in that taxi line. You get to the front of the line, and you're like, I gotta chug this beer before I get in the cab. And the taxi attendant guy's like, nah, man. Open container law. You can drink that in the cab. Vegas cab beer. You can't do it anywhere else. It goes right to the top of the list. It's nice so you can fit in the pre-drink as well on your way to whatever place you're going. Double fist beers, do whatever you want to do. But Vegas cab beer, very criminally underrated because you can't drink it. It's against the law elsewhere. I don't condone this behavior. So Vegas cab beer. Do we want to add a fourth? We want to just go back snake style?
I'll just say my honorable
Go honorable
mentions here. So I had here this one from when I was younger. A lot of people resonate here. College bar $1 beer.
Yeah, buck of beers.
Buck of beer.
Can't go wrong. The value beer.
Yeah, a value beer essentially. Had another one which was on the beach, tossing the football, one-hand catches.
Yeah.
That's a good beer.
Yeah.
And then here, what else did we have? Open up the fresh case. Got your favorite team's hat in the pack. That beer is a good beer. And then this one, I'm not actually sure if this is a good beer or if I should save this for the bad beer, but men's league hockey in the Gatorade bottle on the bench beer. You don't know. It's honor. Could be a bad beer too.
That could go opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I don't like any sort of vigorous activity mixed with beer. Lots of people do that in men's league. I could never do that. I can't go back out and skate.
I'd lean actually towards that being a negative beer.
Yeah, negative beer.
All right.
I
Zach.
have some honorable mentions. Honorable mention would be the Friday long weekend beer. And I'm talking specifically the Monday being the day off. Friday off is nice, but it feels kind of like abrupt. Friday off hits you quick. Thursday, all of a sudden we're into the weekend. The Monday off, you get to the Friday, and you know this isn't a Friday, Saturday, and then you're back to work on Monday. Sunday's going to be tough. You get that extra day
Extra
into
day
the
for the
Monday.
bender.
Long weekend beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the long weekend Monday, the Friday
That's a
beer
good
on
one.
the and then the other one, this one would be the hangover beer. you're hungover, maybe you go for like a brunch, or you just wake up, you're sitting at home or at the cottage, like Johnny says, that's probably the perfect place for it. It has to be cold though.
Yeah,
it has to be real.
I would
cold,
go as far as
cold.
saying that beer always has to be cold.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that instance, like it's just the hangover.
Yeah,
you get that one in you. Oh, you're feeling good again. You're recovered, right back to it, and no issues.
You just push the hangover to the next day.
What you got any others?
Yeah, one more would be the leaving work early beer.
Grab it at the office with the boys.
At the office with the boys. We're going to the Jays game. We're heading out early, or boss says you can get out of here at lunch or just after lunch or whatever. You go for lunch, have a beer at lunch. That's a good beer. That one feels good. It feels rewarding.
Anything else, Rob?
That's it. I mean, we're covered.
All right, we're gonna do quick. Our maybe we just read them off. No draft style. Worst beers.
Let's go.
You got it.
Let's go draft style in case there's overlap. Zach already sewered me with
all
the
right,
shower
Rob, you got
beer.
first pick. You had last time.
Okay. First pick. I've never done this before. I just want to clear this up because the actual thought of it sickens me so much that I would never do it. But there's people that they like stand by. The toilet beer has
never
to
done
be.
it either.
You ever go to a sporting event and you just like watch a guy walk into the can? You know that they're taking a shit because of the way that their shoes are oriented. You know what I'm saying? You could see like the pants by the ankle and they got the beer in there with them. Like there's just shit particles floating through the air and guys drinking a beer. That's not there's a lot of venues where I would drink a beer. Toilet beer is not one of them. I've seen it happen. I'm not going to partake in it. Frankly, it disgusts me.
All right, I'll go worst beers. A shotgunned beer.
Oh, shotgun beer, yeah.
Shotgun beer. I'm not a big fan of the shotgun.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable.
I'm not a fan of the shotgun either.
I'll do it because of peer pressure.
Yeah, that's what
I think everyone does, right?
I don't think anyone's ever
No one
wanted to
enjoys
shotgun
a
a beer.
shotgun beer, no. Yeah,
right,
I'm
Zach.
with you on that. That's good.
This one would be the boot beer. I'm
A
talking
shoey.
Yeah.
no, I'm talking about the glass boots,
Yeah,
the big glass boots.
tilted and
Yeah. No, I'm just not. That might be personal. Maybe it was a bad one in the first round here, but I'm not a fan of it. Usually, it's also like it's multiple beers in there. It's not just the one. So then by the time you get to the bottom of the boot, it's kind of warm. It's been in there for a while. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'd rather just keep
I thought
cold
you were
ones
supposed to
coming
just
the whole
chug the
time.
beer out of the boot. Like not let it not
you
carry
are
it around like
supposed to
a
chug it.
glass of beer.
Yeah, you are supposed to chug it.
So
but that's
how
what I'm
does it get
saying.
warm
Is
at the
like
bottom?
if you're basically shotgunning like 3 beers at a time with the boot, or if you're just end up holding on to it a little bit. Like there's no good way to consume that one, in my opinion.
Got to
So
turn
it's
the boot
no
sideways.
good.
Is what I hear. Yeah.
All right, you're up again.
Up again would be the workday lunch beer where you have to go back to work.
One of the worst
It's the
beers.
biggest
No,
tease
it's
ever.
Bad beer.
No good.
Yeah, liquid lunch when you have to go back. Depends on what your job is.
I'd put that as a good beer.
It depends on your job, right? Like if you actually have to go, like some people are going back to work in spirit, you know, like they're there, they're just a body, a presence. But then if you actually have to go back and work after a beer lunch, it's bad. So it really depends on the job, I would say.
Yeah. I had it when I was landscaping. You go outside, you have lunch. It's hot as hell. All of a sudden, you're just you have beers and you go back. No good.
Yeah.
No good. So those are mine.
All right, back to me. So this one probably hits hard a lot of guys on the show here. This would be the lost a bet, have to finish your beer. Such a bad beer. Because it usually comes when you're just enjoying your beer, playing some sort of game, and you lost a bet. You got to chug your beer. No good, never good. Rob,
It never comes under ideal circumstances.
Never.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay, again, hear me out on this one. The party keg beer. Okay, keggers. In theory, it's a fun idea. It's gonna be great. You're gonna have a keg or whatever. Whoever hosts the party never properly takes care of the beer. It ends up being piss warm, super foamy. It's just never good, honestly. Like when you go to a party and like you're like, oh, this keg was amazing. Like it's one thing you want to do when you're young, but you just like I've grown out of it. So party keg beer,
I have on my list the keg stand beer as a bad.
That's part of it too.
Yeah,
it's
I'll
like
put
you're
that.
gonna have to do some stupid shit on top of it whenever you're at the party with the keg. So
I also had warm beer, so I'm going to cross those two off.
yeah, it's a combo.
You had them both there.
It's a combo. I'll use my final selection on mystery beer. You know when like someone just comes up to you, you've already had like 3 drinks, and like someone's like, I got you this beer, and you're like, what is it? Like it looks like a color you never seen before. You're like, I don't know what this is, and they're like, don't worry, like just drink it. It's good. I don't ever want to be like surprised. Like I'll drink it, but like I don't like going into the beer not knowing what it is. Sometimes it's like a sour or something like that, or mystery beer. Not in my playbook at all. You come and buy me a beer, you tell me what you got me, I'll drink it, but I want to know going in. That's just like my number one rule.
I'm with you there. I would never drink one of those. Something else I would never do and have never done, but on my list here, because I think it's pretty hilarious, but this has got to be a worst beer, is the baseball game hat, 2 beers on top of the head through the straw beer. I can't see that being a good
Happy
beer.
Gilmore caddy beer.
Yeah, exactly. There's just no way. So that I'll toss that as my number 3.
I did have one of those hats before. My brother used to drink beer out of one of those hats.
It could not have been good.
It probably was not. I mean, it's 2 things you got to open for one. They don't come out like evenly either. The suction on one always is worse than. Anyways, you're right. I will agree with you on that.
Mine, the last one, is the going to play a sporting event beer. You show up, you're going to play men's league soccer, men's league hockey, whatever it is, but you have beers before you go out. Unless you're doing what Johnny said, where like I think it's controversial whether you want to have the beer in the Gatorade or not. It's undeniable that the post-game beer is incredible.
Yeah.
But I think if you have the beer prior to going out there, there's a huge risk of like not feeling good. All of a sudden, maybe your head hurts. You're dehydrated out there. You feel uncomfortable. You feel bloated. There's just no real positives. Like it's fun in the moment. You get out there, go out on the ice, go to do whatever the activity is, and then you feel like shit and you immediately regret it. I don't think that there's any. I don't think there's any positives.
I don't like to mix beer with physical activity. Period. I've seen people drinking beers on like hikes before, like strenuous activity. Never. The one time where I will mix beer with, I mean, you can call it physical activity, but if I'm playing for a buddy's softball team and I know I'm playing outfield, I'll crush a beer before the game. It helps calm the nerves too, because I don't play regular baseball, and you know the first time that ball is like ripped at you when you're not playing regularly, you're shit in your pants if you haven't had a beer yet. So that's the one exception I would say.
All right, I got a couple honorable mentions here. I know Zach said no brands, but for a worst beer, I'm going to say a Molson Canadian 6.0 Cold Shot. And that's going to be presented without context. Those who know are going to know, and then those of you who are not from Canada, I guess look it up. You don't even need to. After that, I'd say worst beer, a homemade beer. I've never done it myself. I know, certain people listening are probably saying, "Oh no, homemade." Listen, your homemade beer, it's not a good beer. And to that, next up would be a networking beer with a guy you don't want to be around. And sometimes it's like, if you worked at a big company or something, you go for beers, you don't want to be around this guy, but what are you going to do? You had to have the beer.
That's more about the person than the beer, though.
But that's one of the worst beers.
It's a tough one.
And then lastly, I'm not too proud to say it, a too strong beer. I don't like a too strong beer.
Yeah. I don't know about this one. This is because it's a matter of personal preference. I don't want to get into the whole debate of like IPAs versus people's palates are different. So like everyone's like, oh, like IPAs are the best, or like, light beer, this and that. And they get into like these insane arguments. It's going to be to your palate.
Yeah, that's why I said worst beer for me is just and that's why I worded it as such, a too strong beer.
Too strong.
Because there could be a too strong beer for anybody.
Fair. Okay, fine.
Just the level at which
you just don't like it.
Yeah, so anyone, you drink a beer, it could be a different level for me and you. Be like,
but we could go down the whole list.
This is a too strong beer.
Could be a too hoppy
exactly.
beer. Could be, okay, I got it. I got you.
All right. Anything else? Or we're going to start talking sports?
Talk some real stuff. I just had the Dizzy Bat beer.
Oh, no. You know what? Number one worst. Whoever volunteers to do that stupid thing where they have to crush the beer and then spin around like 10 times with the bat on their head and finish some sort of stupid obstacle course.
Dude.
That's the
another
dumbest.
worst beer. Funnel beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dude, how do we forget this?
Anytime you have to take beer in bulk, like uncomfortable amount, it's
a funnel beer. Terrible, man.
Anyways, we'll leave it up to the people. We'll leave it up to the people to vote. Let us know down in the comments below. Also, if we missed a great beer or a terrible beer, also let us know down in the comments below.
Or if you want us to do more of these. Sure. Which I don't know if people will, but if you do want us to do
suggest another topic.
I'm into beer now, man. I'm gonna go home today. I'm gonna crack the best shower beer. Gonna be such a.
I can't wait for your wife to just find the empty can in the shower.
No,
Rob.
Listen, you definitely don't let the wife know that you're doing a shower beer. That's pro tip number 1. You just do the shower beer. But yeah. Anyways.
All right. What do we got for sports betting here, Rob?
I don't know. What do we got? What do we got for sports betting?
Honestly, Zach, leave this in, bro. Leave this in, brother. Leave this in.
Dog days of summer is what we got for sports. What are you actually doing right now?
Honestly, we're working on like a lot of work,
like betstamp work.
Yeah, of course.
Or accelerating. Are you doing like anything to accelerate your sports betting right
barely
now?
Anything.
Yeah,
not much of anything right now.
I mean,
personally, I don't bet MLB straights. Like I don't bet MLB like money lines and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of people who do. People make good money. Some people don't. Whatever. I don't do that. So it's a good chance for me to just like take the summer and like work on some other stuff and not. I don't see a need to grind out something when you might or may not have an edge. You're not confident in it. You're going to put a lot of time into it. At this point for me, it's like not getting the ROI out of the time. So it's better to take some time off.
Yeah, I did some baseball stuff for about 2 weeks, and then I said, this ain't going to happen anymore. It's full steam football ahead right now. Like it's already started.
So what are you prepping for right now? NFL?
NFL. So yeah, I mean, like, listen, there's a lot of work that goes into it for me. I try to like take some time until June, and then July kicks in, and a lot of stuff happens. But it always starts for me like, and I spend a lot of time reviewing last season, and not just like what happened in the games, but our entire process. Like, where did we do well? Where did we do poorly? When were we able to fill? Do we need to bet earlier this year? Do we need to bet later? Like basically everything that is a full review of last season from a betting perspective, and then just talking through that with my partners in terms of what do we need to change for this upcoming year. I literally do that before I even start doing like the full NFL prep work, because I think like it's important to evaluate the market before you just start putting all your resources into betting it. Like imagine there was some sort of market that somebody spent exhaustive hours like creating a model for, and then they go to bet it during NFL season and they can get like $50 a play, and they try to fill through other partners and they get a couple $100. It would have been a complete waste of time. So for me, it's more of a process review before I actually get into anything that's like specific NFL.
What I would honestly recommend for people, and what I haven't started doing it yet, but I do this before the season, it's probably about a month away still, is just map out targets for the season on how much you think you want to make and how much you think you can make. And I've always said this on the show, you need to, in order to make money, it's volume times ROI. So you can even split it out by market and say, all right, this year for football, I'm going to buy betstamp player props tool. I'm going to get this much down on player props. I'm going to get this much down here. This is going to be my expected ROI. That's going to be this earned for me. I'm going to do this tailing this guy's plays, or like doing this origination for straights. I'm going to get down this much on these books, whatever, and that's going to be projected this ROI. And then you'll basically have kind of like building blocks for the season of how your season is going to go. And then you'll be able to then pivot during the season after 3, 4, 6 weeks, being like, all right, this block I had projected correctly. This is working well. I might shift more time towards this. This is working. Let me get more down here. This one not working. Let me take away from here. But you have to have that roadmap out. Otherwise, honestly, you're flying blind. And a lot of people who are betting, let's say NFL, you have no idea what you're even expected to make for the year. People say like, oh, well, whatever. I'm just going to put, I'm going to bet whatever, $100 a play, and I'm going to put in 5 plays a week. Like, do you know what that your expected earn is on that? nobody really factors that stuff in. So I would recommend doing that. I'm, like I said, about a month away from actually going through that process, searching through everything and figuring out, what the best course is for this NFL season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good advice. Like, sports betting isn't just purely like sports betting. Like, obviously, you got to click buttons and you got to make wagers and you got to figure out what are actually good bets. But there's a lot of prep work that goes into all of that. And like, I don't know, for me at this point in my life, I think I may have mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'm trying to maximize dollars per time spent. It's like an efficiency rating, right? Some people are just purely like to maximize dollars. Totally fine. And you know what? You might work 100 hours a week. Sure. If that's what you want to do, that's your goal. Some people might look to maximize other things or whatever. For me, it's like an efficiency thing. But NFL is a passion of mine, so I'm willing to put in a lot more work if we're willing to get something out of it. You just got to be sure going into the season you're going to be able to get something out of it. And if we go through this, we expect to get this back. So that's kind of the early process, but I've already started digging into teams as well. So the first thing is like, I run a math model for NFL, which is always a starting point for us of like, this is the number on the game. But we've updated the rosters for, each team, including draft picks, off-season changes, any injuries to start the year, and kind of figure out where we're at. And then I eyeball it, and I kind of go through things that stand out to me as like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Now we have to dig into why this is happening. And that's kind of how we refine the model on a yearly basis, is just trying to understand what's happening. The toughest thing, I think, for myself personally, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but is accounting for like changes in team from like.
Do you already know all the players that have switched teams and all the rosters?
Yeah. So like on a personal level, I try to keep up with NFL as much as humanly
There's
possible.
a lot of moving parts. Like I checked back a couple weeks back after like free agency, and I saw a lot of trades and signings, and I was like, oh, this guy's on this team now, and I was really only looking at like offensive players. Yeah. I don't track defense too much, but I'm sure there's a lot of changes.
So honestly, as big as the change, you have to account for all the players that are moving teams.
Like, do you know currently what like the Commanders team is?
Off the top of my head, no.
You don't know who like the Commanders players are?
Well, I can name a lot of the Commanders.
Do you know like
players.
do you know the key roles, like QB, running back, receivers?
Yeah.
All right. So you've already like studied up.
Yeah.
In
Jaden
season,
Daniels, Austin Eckler,
yeah,
Terry
season,
McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke
in
McCaffrey.
Season, yeah, okay, you're good. In season, for me, it's like I know all of these off heart.
Yeah.
When I was looking back, if you were to quiz me before I looked like 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, I have no idea. I didn't even know Keenan Allen went to the Bears.
Right.
And then
because some people, once the NFL season ends, they don't pick up until like their
you
fantasy drafts start
If you
coming
didn't check
around.
Twitter that one day that Keenan Allen went to the Bears, like there's no mention of that after that.
Yeah.
It's like it's done.
Most important for me, like obviously changes in player personnel matter. Like I'm not going to be an idiot and be like, oh, it doesn't matter that all these guys are. It obviously matters. However, to me, I think like maybe what people miss in a lot of the offseason stuff is the changes in coaching staff. Honestly, not just head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, how they're going to play for. Like think about the betting implications of one team. This is a gross exaggeration, but one team running 20 more plays a game because they're going to play a hurry-up offense.
Yeah, massive. And it won't be picked up on, you think, until...
It takes a while for that data to assemble and for people to trust it over the course of the season. Think about even on a defensive side of the ball. If a team in previous years played a lot of two high safety and is now playing only one high safety and playing a lot of players closer to the line of scrimmage, probably going to be a little bit more deep shots against that team. Changes in scheme where you get a defensive coordinator that comes over who is a defensive coordinator that loves to blitz the quarterback instead of play back. And like all of that to me matters just as much as the changes in personnel. And I think that's where I spend the majority of my time, because if it was just a model, like I can just run a model using player personnel of each team and say this team against this team, I would expect them to win. But that's not the way football plays out. It's the coaching staff has such a large impact on how they're going to play. Last week, Adam Chernoff put out like I
I'm so happy I'm not an originator right now.
Yeah, no, there's something about it that like is just natural to me. Like I like numbers.
You've always liked it.
Exactly. I've grown up. I like you know me in my personal life of like I play strategy board games and stuff like that. There's something to figuring out puzzles in a sense that I enjoy. But Chernoff put out a tweet last week about I think it was the Indianapolis Colts this upcoming year, and there's like a lot of information in there about what they're doing in the offseason. But one thing was about how Shane Steichen coaches when his team is leading versus when they're trailing, which is like something that I was betting in live markets last year. You've talked about this in the past before with the Titans when they had Derrick Henry and Vrabel was the head coach, and how they just like they lean on Henry second half if they're winning the game. They're just going to run the ball, and that's true. And it's not to say that it's not factored into like the betting algorithms, but there's probably still like a little more meat on the bone there, so to speak. And that's the kind of stuff that like interests me, and where I spend a lot of my time in the offseason. It's not figuring out where the players have gone. It's how they fit into whatever that team is building there, if that makes sense.
I couldn't agree more. Like a lot of the changes here. I personally though, I don't look into this stuff this early. Like for me, I'd almost rather like just look into this before week one, see where the markets are moving, like basically see other people's work on what's been done, and then try to like make an opinion after like week 1 or 2. But it is. But
we're very different styles of bettors too.
Yeah,
like,
you actually need to make the number.
Right.
Like you need to make the number and make it pretty accurately from the ground up in order to be successful.
Yeah, and like for me, I want to have things ready. I'll call them finalized, even though they're not. They're going to change. But to me, the goal is always to have things finalized by the start of preseason. Yeah. Because now, whether or not, I'm not like immune to bias, right? You'll watch preseason sometimes, and some player might just like look really good. And now you have to figure out, well, does he look really good because he's playing a bunch of backups on the other team? Does he look really good because he's actually taken a step forward this year? So like, I like to have things kind of finalized to a spot where I'm comfortable with by the start of preseason. Then I'll use the preseason to make some adjustments to that. But I mean, if I'm being honest with myself, which I am right now, I honestly usually suck to start the NFL year anyways. So maybe there's actually an inherent flaw in my process somewhere along the way that I have to figure out. Because whether it's people are able to bet into like the week 1 market for months and months and months, maybe gets more efficient early. I don't know what it is. Maybe there is something in my process in the offseason that just doesn't work, and I have to take it a little bit easier in the first weeks of the season. Maybe it's just small sample size, honestly. But all of that is like part of a larger puzzle of things that are constantly going on in my head. So yeah, going forwards now, I mean, I'm vacationing this summer. We have Bet Bash as well in early August, but I want to be in as like strong position as I can be by the start of NFL season in fully understanding how these teams are going to operate.
So have you figured out yet, outside of just modeling and teams, like have you figured out what your process is going to be for this NFL season from a just pure betting, getting down perspective? Like I'm going to bet straights. I'm trying to move this much volume this year. I'm trying to bet this much per bet. I want to get down this time of the week. Like, have you decided that already?
So it's not finalized because some of our betting will involve utilizing partners, and they can't quote us numbers yet. Like sometimes a group will move for us and they'll be like, we can get you $10,000 on, I don't know, Monday, just random day, right? We don't have that information available to us yet, but like we're going to go into the season knowing that. So it's like, here are all of our outs. Here's where we can bet, when we can bet into them, or the optimal time to bet into them. Here's how much we can get on all those. And then we kind of prioritize those from top to bottom and try to spread the wealth, so to speak, so that we're like, you build up one huge figure with someone and then God forbid they go bust and you just like, you tied up all your profits with one person. Like you don't want to deal with that situation. But yeah, like that's.
Well, have you already decided though, like, okay, we're betting straights this year and we're going to focus on like more money lines or more totals, more spreads? And have you at least decided like, okay, this is what our ideal bet size would be.
Okay, so there's consistency from year to year that doesn't need to be discussed per se with my partners. It's just like, we know we're going to bet NFL sides and totals. We know when we're going to bet those, roughly what times of the week, and that stays the same. Then there's always like the secondary conversation of, should we actually devote more time this year to NFL second halves and everybody be available to bet second halves because we had some success doing that? Are we going to do more props this year? And some people may be in on it, some people maybe not. And then that's when the interesting thing about me operating in like a group setting is that we don't always just we bet some things together, but everybody as an individual will go off and do their own thing as well, where they feel like there's a little bit more bang for their buck there. So,
are you planning on doing props this season?
Yeah, I did props last season, but so
what's the plan for that?
So I have my own props origination. It's I'll call it like a hybrid of bottom up and top down. I very much respect the market for NFL everything. I'm not doing like super high volume on props. Let's put it that way. But wherever I strongly feel like I have an edge, I'll bet those out early in the week. And then over the course of the rest of the week, if the market opposes, I'm probably not like going super hard on stuff like that. There's guys like Hitman as an example where, okay, market bounces against him and he's like vehemently believes in his handicap. Boom, he's going to hit it again. I'm not. So it's like earlier week, bottom up, good closing line value. Some would argue that that's probably actually going to hurt you if you're doing that early.
Depends where you're getting down. Are you going to use the betstamp player props tool?
Yes. I did for when we were in beta for last year.
Yeah. So. I think for this year, my biggest change for NFL is this will be my first year going just only using player props tool. There's no, just based on the results I've had in the past couple of years, like the tool wins and the origination stuff wins. And honestly, it actually wins at a lesser rate than the tool and is so much more work. So you mentioned like
that's exactly
dollar per hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you're looking for like low dollar per hour, or I guess high dollar per hour would be,
yeah,
but not too much time and highest amount of money, like origination, for me at least, does not make sense. And when I look at a lot of the people out there in the space right now, I know there is some sort of like, Matt Trenhale talked about it last week, some sort of like me versus you style thing. Like, you want to win and you want that glory for winning, which I do get. And I think when you originate something and you do win and you're like, let's say you even got opposition on it, It does feel great. But in today's market for NFL specifically, I'm mentioning this for, like, there is not really a need for origination for 99.9% of people in the market right now. The number one easiest way to beat NFL is just going to be to essentially get an odds screen for player props and grind that through the season. The number two way to beat NFL is likely going to be to pick up off-market prices on the full games at some books that you can. Those will be the easiest ways, and they also require the least amount of time. And then the hardest way to beat it, which subsequently does have somewhat the most upside, would be what Rob is doing with his partners. But keep in mind, this is like years of experience and data, and it is not guaranteed that Rob's going to have a winning season. Whereas, if he does have a winning season and he crushes it, like, he's going to make a lot more money, definitely. Yeah. But there's like far from a guarantee that Rob will have a winning season. Whereas, like, if you take essentially what I'm doing on the player props, it's I'd say like significantly higher chance I'm going to have a winning season.
I would agree with everything that you said there. Listen, just from my perspective, and I agree with everything you said. Like, if you're looking for the path of least resistance, don't originate. Like, don't. There's so many challenges that come with it. Like, I modeled sports for, I want to say, 2.5 years before I even trusted the outcomes of the model enough to bet them, for one. So there's like years of not betting. And that was because I had lost a lot of money before that. But then you like build that out, and within like a year, new metrics become available, and you're like, shit, like now I gotta, it's constant adaptation, right? And my personality traits lend themselves to being a good originator because I'm a good problem solver. That's always been like the best skill I have. For some people out there, there just would be, and this is like, I'm just being a realist, right? It's not, I'm better than, people have different skill sets, right? If you don't like solving problems, you're not going to like trying to figure out what the win probability of two teams in an NFL game is when you have so much data to work with and you have squads of 50 plus players on each side. Like, that's going to be an inherent challenge. So I would agree with you. For me, it's just, I'm like, it's almost I do it by like it's a hobby more so of a means to making income, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think what and I may even get flamed for this, but what a lot of people who are originators or who kind of are against the whole top down thing don't understand is the top down kind of style. It requires like a bunch of originating just on different things. Yeah. So you may not be building a bottom up number from the market and be like, yeah, this game should be 3.5 or this player should be 68.5 yards. But you are still solving and essentially originating opinions on so many different problems, like whether this is good, whether this is good, what's going to happen here. And oftentimes you are in like a guessing game where you need to run like a super quick analysis on something. So the skills required are not extremely different. The effort certainly is a lot more in the bottom up origination. But I do think like a really good originator would also be a really good, top down better, and vice versa. FYI, like a really good person at reading the market would also be a good originator. Just sometimes the physical skills may not be there. So like, yeah, okay, this guy, you don't really necessarily need to code to be a good top-down better, although it would significantly help if you could run analysis and code. So it's all variable, but the skills required are very similar.
Yep, I don't disagree. I mean, so that's it. Like for me now, it's football mode until all the way up till football, and just trying to maximize the use of my time. Like one thing for me that's really important, especially running a business and doing content on top of it, is like I've already started to block off times of the week during NFL season of like, I need to be doing this at this time. And like my calendar is I don't have a lot of free time, but I think it's like, that's a huge, like I love building out a routine during NFL season. And like every single week during that season, I know I'm doing this at X time or Y time or Z time. And that's like all part of the off season. Like, so it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna dig into all these teams and all these players. Like that's part of it, but there's like so much logistics around everything else because you have to be able to come up with a number on a game, in my case, that is gonna win. Maybe not on Sunday at close, but earlier in the week. And then it's not just about that number. Now there's like a lot of execution that comes into play, and it's
a different game than just making the number. And
of course, listen, if you got like a $1,000
bet size, it'd be super easy. Yeah,
of course, and that's not to diminish. Again, to each their own. But then it's not even a problem. You don't have to worry about these things. But at some point you scale and you get to a level, and a lot of people desire to get to that level, and that's what it takes to maintain it year after year. So I'm not as passionate about sports betting as I once was, in terms of like, I don't want to be the best NFL bettor in the world, but it's a hobby. It's something I'm interested in. I try to improve every year and try to make decent money on it every year. And I'll keep doing that as long as I'm doing that.
Yeah. I want to say also, we're going to do another episode later in the summer where we actually break down more specifics on like NFL betting, how to prep for the season. And we're going to give actionable advice. We have the betstamp player props tool, which has been like absolutely unbelievable for NFL and NBA season. Thanks to anybody who was working with us on that. We have some people that are in. We filled all the spots that we have for now, unfortunately, but we are going to be opening up like another round ahead of the NFL season. So that's something where we're looking to basically. It is like a sales product, obviously, but we're selling that product, and we're going to have a limited amount of spots. We're going to do another episode where we actually break that down and show people how it works. So if you want to reach out now and essentially get on a wait list, that's fine. If not, we'll wait for the other episode so you can see it. And we were also considering, between Rob and I, for this season, like finding other ways to help bettors more in the smaller scale. So we hear you guys, and we know there's a lot of people in our audience as well as, on social media who are not necessarily guys who are going to be betting like $1,000, and they're just maybe entering into the game, want to figure out how to make their first couple grand, their first $5,000, $10,000. So, we're looking at ways to do that. We hear you. Hopefully we have something by football season where, we can help out in a little more clearer direction. Yeah. Currently working on that. We'll see. And then in addition to that, we are also working on the merch for Circles Off.
It's actually happening in the background right now.
So everybody who's listening right now, fear not. We're going to help you win an NFL this season. If you're a super sharp bettor, you're with Jenny, you're already at the top of the game, and you don't want to do props, then you probably got it covered. If you do want to,
we'll have some decent guests on though that you might still learn something from.
Yeah, this is going to be our best year yet. I know this is more of like a low effort summer content, as they say. It's July content now. Yeah, July, low effort July content. But seriously, guys, we appreciate everyone like listening, liking, subscribing on the show, and whatnot. We want to put out the best content as possible. Last week's obviously was a nice banger. We're gonna try to lean in this year to like really high level and like hardcore like sharp content. Even across the entire network, there's no better thing. There's no thing that like Rob and I are more passionate about than like trying to find edges and like actually winning betting. And I know a lot of you listening right now and others who are going to discover this podcast later feel the same way about it. So we're really going to try this year and like changing up a few things to like give you guys the absolute best content possible when it comes to like finding edges, plays, how to actually win, actionable advice. None of this like, hey, picks bullshit. There might be a few of those, like, Pizzola's Sunday morning show. That's not going to go away. Otherwise, we'd probably be, murdered over here. But we're really going to try to lean in. This is going to be an awesome year. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, totally agree with everything. We just consume so much in the space. At least I do. Zach does. Our other producers, Alex Moretto here at the Hammer, and there's so much that we could do to accelerate betting education in the space. And this podcast has been one avenue to do it, but we're going to hone in on like some specific topics that, listen, they may not be for you, they may be for you, but I promise if you watch that content, then you're actually going to learn something and get something out of that content. It's no different than, listen, I consume a lot of I got my golf game down to like a 15 handicap now. I'm playing well.
Not bad.
I watch a lot of YouTube in the space. There's certain channels that I like. There might be a video on like how to fix your reverse pivot, and like that's not a problem for me. I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna watch it. But maybe the next video is like hitting too many fat shots. Maybe you want to watch this, and maybe I will watch that. So we're gonna try to, produce a wide offering of different content in the space, and also we got some entertaining stuff planned as well. We're not just robotic here over at the Hammer. We do want to have some fun with some things which are going to be coming your way as
That's why we did a beer draft.
Beer draft. Yeah. All right, appreciate everyone tuning in today's episode. Smash that like button down below. We haven't done a Q&A mailbag in a long time. I'm not saying that we're going to do one, but if there's specific topics that you want to see, put them down in the comments down below. Maybe they turn into a Q&A. Maybe they just turn into individual episode topics. Maybe they turn into some other content. But we always do value the feedback. So let us know down in the comments below. Also, best and worst beers. Make sure you post it. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you sub to Circles Off. Make sure you check out Pinnacle Sportsbook. Appreciate all who tuned in. We'll catch you next week. Peace.
See ya.